It's part two of our interview with Serge Fiori of Harmonium fame. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. So Serge, you were saying that after the 3 albums, that was it, but was there, you guys had some reunions through the years, no?
No, never.
And
never.
Why is that?
Because it was done. I couldn't go back, and I couldn't pretend, just for money or for I don't know what, and go play, and it was done. It would have never been the same, It's like there was no way we could continue, driving that thing to a better place. It's impossible.
I was telling Simone, I was watching the California concert when you guys went to California. And you get up there and you're basically announcing a song and everyone claps and you go, oh, okay. Well, I'm there. That's like a moment in time where
freaked me out. It's like, we're in a Starwood club and okay, I'm gonna play Aujourd'hui c'est bonjour la vie. Yeah, what?
You know what, Serge? I just want to tell you, a musician of the OSM gave me the DVD of Harmonium in California, so I can listen to it. A musician, the OSM, imagine.
Really?
He said, "Oh, you should listen to that. It's Harmonium and it's good." And
yeah, and it's funny because that was the start of the downfall of the band.
Is that right?
Really? Oh yeah, that was it. That was the end. It's like came back to Montreal, and that was it. Gone.
But that's a lot of pieces and a lot of personalities, and that's like juggling cats, I would say.
Yeah, that's why I prefer dogs. No, but it is. But also, the problem in the band for me is that there was 2 directions. The ones that were at it, during Leptad, had one way of looking at things that didn't really fit with some of us, the other ones were doing since the beginning. It became a big rock and roll, anything goes, let's sniff, let's drink, let's, I couldn't stand it. It's like, it was hard to be the leader of that.
I think it was 75, I had a teacher who introduced me to Harmonium. And he said, before he played it for me, I think you'll like this. He says, well, it's like Genesis, but more interesting.
Oh, God.
So there you go, my friend.
I like him.
He says, somewhere, and he also told me a few years later, before he left, he said, you're talking about your phrasing. He said, there's he used to say, it's interesting you should say theater or music, because he would go, he did something like or whatever in front of me. I don't know what he did, what song he was talking about, but he says, look at the way he phrases. There's a lot of jazz in that guy. He says he's got a lot, and he didn't even know anything about you, but he would say things like, because he was a real musicologist, and it's important for me to tell you this because I don't know where he is now, but he'd love for me to tell you, I'm sure. But he said, look, there's so much different types of music in his pastiche, his background,
I'm floored. Thank you for putting me on the floor. You win.
What you just mentioned is a very important topic in the whole symphonic experience, because Serge's voice was extremely instrumental, and I use the word in many ways, in this discussion. Serge used his voice as a musical instrument, and his phrasing and his tone, the texture of his voice, it's extremely particular and extremely musical, more musical than a lot of singers.
Thank you. Good night.
No, but it's true. It's true. So I'm telling you this because it had a huge impact on my work when I had to write the adaptation for a symphonic orchestra, because I knew Serge's voice wouldn't be there. So I took a lot of time transcribing his phrasing exactly as he sang it on record, so that I could find the best way to adapt that phrasing to a classical world, so that when he sings that line, the way he sings it, how would it make sense with an oboe or with a cello or with a flute or a French horn? So I put a lot of energy into that, because I knew that phrasing is as important to the music as the phrasing of Ella Fitzgerald or Sarah Vaughan or name it, extremely musical.
Oh, God, okay.
That's the truth, Serge.
It's amazing how it's gotten a new life, though. I was just talking to the guys in Klaatu. We're doing a special on them on YouTube. And I was talking to John, and it reminded me of you, Serge. He was saying, I said, why haven't you released solo albums? I know you have, obviously, and you're still in music. But for him, he said to me, I said, I'm going to give you the answer to that. He said, what? I said, I'm going to say that you put so much into yourself, into those Klaatu albums, that after that band was finished, you were done. You were just one of those guys. But I also looked at, even though you'd released quite a few solo albums, I kind of looked at you in that way of going, he's put so much of himself into Harmonium albums.
You're so dead on. And that's why Harmonium exploded. After the 3 albums, that was it. I had nothing else to say, to do. I couldn't move. Actually, I burned out for years, and I couldn't even understand playing again or singing again or writing. I was fried. The evolution of those 3 albums also was too much. So I did 3 years of tours after Leptade, but that was it. I couldn't stand it anymore.
What an incredible, ambitious project this is. This is, to me, I couldn't fathom, to both of you here, doing a project that is this big with that much music. How did this come to fruition?
The original idea is from producer Nicolas Lemieux. He came to me saying, I would love to do the entire music of Harmonium, the 3 albums they did, but in a symphonic version. What do you think about that? I thought it was another crazy idea, It's 3 hours of music in total. I needed to think a little bit about it, because I knew that if we were to do it, it had to be well made, well done, because it's such a serious thing, Harmonium, for Quebecers and even Canadians. It's an iconic figure of the pop culture here. So I really wanted it to be good. So we needed time, we needed a very good orchestra. Many things were involved so that we could make it happen the right way.
Serge?
So they did a La Disque homage à Harmonium, and Simon did the orchestra and the arrangements. I keep telling the story, but it's very true. It's like after 30 seconds, I was totally convinced and mesmerized that if something like that would happen, you would have to do it. It's sure. And the thing was that there were singers that night doing what I was singing with the orchestra accompanying. That's one thing. That's not symphonic for me. It's like finding the way to play those songs with replacing lead vocals with main instruments is amazing. When I heard about the project and they presented it to me, I went running. I went very far and just secluded myself, because I went, come on, it's almost impossible, So Simon went for it for 4 or 5 months. And when I heard it, started sending demos, I was floored. I was just, there it is. It's not only possible, it's better than that,
Well, I'll ask you both this question. It's a question that's come up with a lot of proggers I talk to, like Steve Hackett of Genesis and John Anderson of Yes recently. And they talk about, and Serge, I think you're like that. And obviously, Simone, I think you're like that too. I'm answering your question for you. Closing files. When you have such an intense work ethic, or it's almost like being our daughter's Asperger's. She's autistic and she's really hyper focused. She's taught us a lot about the human condition. So for both of you, opening this file for this big ambitious project, but Serge, you said you came running. But Simon, how were you when you looked at the body of work that you had to do? How was it going into this project from a human condition of going, okay, are we up for this? Because there's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do. Honestly,
Simon, let me interrupt you. You locked yourself up for 6 months, didn't you?
Not 6, 4 months and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
But the first month I was only listening to Harmonium's music. The first month of writing, I didn't write anything. I just needed to get really into their music. Of course, it takes a huge amount of energy, because and Serge is the same way. When we get into a creative process, we give everything we have. So it's intense. It's extremely intense.
Yeah.
And I know for myself, at the end of big projects like this one, I have what we could call a postpartum. It's like mothers when they give birth and all that. There's something dark afterwards. It's there's a day to make with the project. It's intense.
You're so right. I mean, it's terrible every time.
It is.
Just break down, It's like and everybody around doesn't understand anything. Where are you? Where the fuck are you? I'm gone, man. It's like
even though we're extremely happy with the project, and with the result. And
it's even worse when we're happy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a huge void suddenly, and you say, could I have done better? Was there a way to make it better in that field or that field, for the recording, for the arrangements, for the conducting? Is it really the right way? You have all those questions afterwards.
Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. And buy a t-shirt, help support our channel. Link in the description of this video. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music.